So imagine that you are 2 weeks into your journey. It's the new year, and you've got that new gym membership. You bought the new clothes. You have done all the things to prepare. And so now you've been hitting it, right? You're 2 weeks into it. The new year, we've got the new New Year's resolutions. We have the clothes, we've got the equipment, and you're cutting back on those calories and you're exercising. And things just aren't going the way you thought they were going to go. You seem like you're eating like a bird and you're spending your time in the gym, but yet the weight's not going off. And that's the frustration that people find themselves in often. And I get asked the question, why is fasting different from just cutting back on calories? What am I doing wrong? Why is this not working? And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight in this episode as we talk about why fasting is more than just cutting calories. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to put their diabetes in remission, who want to reverse their diabetes and get off of medication. That's who we're talking about here. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And also, if you have questions as we go throughout the show, make sure you put those in the chat and make sure you put a Q in front of those so that we know that those are questions that we need to get to. If you have been with us, you know how we roll. I've got my meters that we're going to take a look at here in just a minute because I am right now a little over 72 hours into this week's fast. So I've got those meters here. We're going to take a look. If you think you know what my ketones are going to be, you can start putting that in the chat. And then right below, that is my Dexcom Clarity Report, which we will take a look at to see what's been going on with my blood sugars. That's how we do it. That's how we do it. I do see some of our community members out there right now, so I want to say hello to you. Let's see. I've got Steve and I've got Pamela. Actually, let me just do this. I'm going to pull this one up. There we go. So I can see Steve that's out there. Steve is saying hello, team. And then Pamela is saying hello to us as well. Glad that you guys are hanging out with us here on the show. And whatever platform you find yourselves on, I'm glad that you are here. If you are in Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitch, Facebook, and of course here on YouTube. Let me do one thing here real quick to adjust this. There we go. Glad that you're joining us. Make sure you jump in and let us know what's going on. If you've been fasting, I want you to put yes. If you have just come out of a fast, I want you to put out. And if you are going into a fast, I want you to put in. Right? So, yes, if you've been fasting, if you're currently fasting, yes. If you just came out of a fast, say out. And if you're getting ready to go into a fast, put in. Okay, so we'll kind of use that as as your questions for tonight. All right. So, as I normally do, we're going to go ahead and do a check-in. And let me kind of lay the backdrop to what we're discussing and what we're doing. So in the process of reversing diabetes, we have learned several key components. We've learned about how diabetes works. We've learned about the pillars for diabetes, that is decreasing sugar, decreasing insulin, suppressing appetite, and reducing sugar. And we've learned several tools that we are using in the process of reversing diabetes. Okay, that's the backdrop. One of the most powerful tools that we've learned is the tool of fasting. We've learned others as well, right? Emotional intelligence, mindfulness, how to create a menu, and you'll see more of that coming up. But those are some of the tools. One of the most powerful that we've learned is this idea of fasting. And so as we work through fasting, we want to know how can we fast successfully how we can use fasting successfully in reversing our diabetes. Now, as we talk about that, there are several other things, other components that go along with metabolic disease, and fasting addresses those as well. So if you're not a diabetic, right, don't think that just because you're not diabetic, these principles and these tools don't work for you as well. They work for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome. We can go on and on and on and on. One of the things that people struggle with often is weight, which we're addressing tonight specifically as it relates to fasting and some of the things that we can do, or some of the reasons why things are the way they are. Okay, so that's where we are. And so in the fasting process, I want to do a check-in because I am right now a little over 72 hours into this week's fast. One of the things that I do on a weekly basis is fasting. And I recommend if you're struggling with metabolic disease, if you're looking to improve your health, if you're looking to reverse diabetes, improve all of those things, then we've been promoting that everyone should be able to fast for at least 24 hours once a week. 24 hours once a week. And I've spent so much time this week talking to multiple people about the process, talking to them about what they can do, how they can do it. There are a group of people that we have said should not fast right now, and they should make sure that they're touching base with their family physician. And those are women who are pregnant, children, and people who've had any kind of eating disorders in the past. Other than that, most other people should be able to fast. As always, I want you to make sure that you are touching base with your family doctor and make sure you have a team around you that is looking and helping to keep you safe. Okay? All right. But as we get into fasting, 3 areas that I want to check in with. And anytime you are looking to change, improve, modify any kind of behavior or any system, then you want to check in with that system. You want to check in with yourself. And in this case, we are working to fast. And during the fast, we want to check in to see where we are. So I am, as I said, a little over 72 hours into this week's fast. And so let's go ahead and let's do a check-in. I almost says chicken, right? So that's where my brain is. So physically, this week, I have done an excellent job of maintaining, of getting rest. In the last couple of weeks, I've not done that. And this week, we went away on a trip, and we came back. And each night, I have been getting rest. As a matter of fact, I've been getting so much rest that I wake up even before my alarm goes off. And so that's good. So I'm not feeling weak. I'm not feeling sluggish. I'm not feeling drained. And we'll talk more about this as we get into our review of fasting later this week. But I'm not feeling any of those things. I'm not feeling lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty. I'm not feeling palpitations because I've also been doing a good job of hydrating. Okay? So as you are, as I'm going through this process, that's where I am in terms of my physical, how I'm feeling physically. Mentally, I'm feeling clear. I'm feeling sharp. I'm not feeling as though I'm walking through that bubble or feeling sluggish. This also goes along with the idea of getting good rest, because if I'm doing well physically, then that will translate into mentally as well. And so I'm feeling sharp. I'm not feeling dull. I'm not grasping for words, or my mentation is not sluggish. And then emotionally, actually, this has been a pretty good week. We went away. We went to D.C. We did tours. We got to go to the White House and the Capitol and the monuments and museums, and then got the chance to spend time with family while we were there. We spent an entire day with the family. Then we went walking, and it was an amazing time to be there. And so I'm feeling pumped coming into this week. And this week has actually just been pretty good for me, and so emotionally feeling good. Okay, all right. Now let's hop over and let's take a look at blood sugars. First thing I want to do is look at blood sugars as it relates to my continuous monitors. As you know, I wear two monitors, and right now you can't see them because I'm here wearing. Right, they're covered up. So I have a Dexcom G7 on one arm, and I have a Libre on the other arm, the Libre 3. And so what you'll see on the screen, that is my Libre right now, is showing that my blood sugar is 61. And you'll see down at the bottom, there's that green area, green shaded area, and then right below it, you'll see the white and then the red line. And so the dashed line that's right beyond that is 70. And you'll see for most of today, starting right at about 10, 11 o'clock, my blood sugar has been below 70 for most of the day. And right now it's 61. If I go over and take a look at my Dexcom G7, you'll see right now it says that my blood sugar is 68. And if we go back to the 12-hour, you'll see that for most of the day, and this one I can actually put my finger on and I can see what those numbers are. So earlier in the day, you'll see that we were below 100 for most of the morning, and then coming up into right around noon is when we dipped for the first time below 70 or below 80. And then we kind of straddled 70, 80, 70, 80, 70, 80, 70, 80. And then right at about 4 o'clock, right there, a little bit after 4 o'clock, I dipped below 70 for the first time, and then kind of been going 60s, 70s, low 70s, and then kind of staying in the upper 60s to low 70s for most of the afternoon. Okay, so that's where I've been. If I go to 24 hours, starting at midnight or thereabouts, well, 8 o'clock last night, actually right about 24 hours now. 70s, and then we get a peak up here into the 80s and 90s, and then back down into the 70s. Okay, so that's where I've been according to my monitors for the last 24 hours. Let's hop over now and let's take a look at, I've got my Keto Mojo and my Contour. Keto Mojo will give me both blood sugar and ketones, and of course the Contour will give me just blood sugar. So let's go ahead and get a strip into each of these. And what do you think? What do you think my ketones are going to be? All right, what do you think they're going to be? Drop that in the comments there. And while I do that, I see that Pamela says that she is currently fasting. And Pamela, what are you doing? How far are you into your fast? Let's get that in there. And that's the blood sugar strip. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the ketone strip so that it's just ready for me when I need it. Bum, bum, bum. All right, so I'm going to put that off to the side. And then into our little container so I can grab a lancet. And as you guys saw, I've gotten kind of attached to just the, if I can get one out, where is it? There you go. I've gotten attached to just the lancet itself without the lancing device. And these are pretty simple. You just twist off the top there. And I simply just take this and find a finger and go ahead, and I'm going to give this one a poke right there. Ow, that actually hurts. And these smaller lancets they hurt more actually than what would be considered. So most people think that the bigger ones will hurt, but these little guys are, yeah, in something else. All right, so 60 for my Keto Mojo, and then 63 for the Contour. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that strip out, get the ketone strip in, and then go ahead and get that started. There we go. I think I got a drop of blood on there. There we go. Okay. So now that one's getting started. And of course, like I do, I'm going to tease you guys because I'm not going to let you see what what it shows. We'll come back to that here in just a little while. Okay. All right. So let's hop over and we're gonna get into our discussion. But let me pull back over some of what you guys are saying. So Pamela's saying I just started back. So she said yeah. So Steve says yes, and he's doing his usual 24-hour. Um, he's using his usual 24-hour fast that he does, and Steve does a daily 24-hour or thereabouts fast, eating one meal a day, if I remember correctly, right, Steve? And then Pamela's saying, I just started back. I fast every day from 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. Okay. So I like that. So 6 to 6 would be 12 hours, and then 7, 8, 9, 10. So 12 plus 4, so 16 hours. Pamela says, I did do 24 hours a couple of times. And then Steve is saying that he thinks that my ketones are going to be 1.2. And then Jennifer just popped in. Hey, Jennifer, how are you? Glad that you're here to join us. This is our community members. Glad that you guys are here. Let me do say that if you have not done so, go ahead and sign up for our community meetup, which is coming up here in just, we're going to do that actually on the 31st. The 31st. And while I think about it, let me hop over and I can pop that. For those of you who've not done so yet, go ahead and pop those right here into our chat. Okay? And then that will come up for you in just a minute. Awesome. All right. So let's go ahead and let's hop over to our discussion. And so we're talking about cutting back on calories versus restricting calories. So fasting versus restricting calories. That's the discussion that we're having tonight. And you heard kind of the setup for that as I started. And just today I had this conversation, and I have this conversation often with people who are in the process of trying to lose weight, and they're cutting back on calories, and they're exercising, and they're not finding the success that they expected with the weight that they're expecting to lose. And so I get that question, why? What am I doing wrong? I've cut back on calories, and this should work. So I thought that I would come and just have a conversation. Now, let's back up for a minute and let's have another conversation. And the conversation centers around what we're doing in reversing diabetes. As you know, one of the things that we've pushed, this new year, new you, is a reversing diabetes. That's what we're working on. We're talking to adults who want to reverse their diabetes, get off of medication, put their diabetes in remission, improve their metabolic health. And that last component, improve their metabolic health, that encompasses all the things that are related to metabolic disease. So as we're talking to adults with type 2 diabetes, there are all these other things, all these other benefits that we get. And you've seen me, I've put them up before. Let's see, why don't I pop it right here, right? So high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome. And I need to expand that list because there's so many more things that we can talk about. And one of the benefits that we've been getting from the treatment of diabetes using fasting is weight loss. It is a side effect of the fasting process. It's not what we're looking for. It's not what we are saying that we're doing in New Year, New You, but it is a side effect. And so as we're looking at all the things that happen with the New Year, New You process, weight loss is one of them. You guys will remember that back in March of this year, right, I hit my 1 year goal of 52 pounds in 1 year, if you guys recall that. Okay, so one of the benefits of the fasting process is that you get improvement in the metabolic diseases. And so weight being one of those is something that people continually want to see as they are walking down this path. And we want to see that as well. And so let's go ahead and let's have that conversation. So what's the difference between fasting or restricting fasting or restricting. So remember, fasting is, and in our definition of fasting, it is no food intake for a specific time period. Now, people fast for lots of different reasons. They do fasting for religious reason. People will fast from, I don't know, certain particular foods. They'll fast from watching TV. They'll fast from, and you can find people fasting for all kinds of different things. In this space, what we're talking about when we're dealing with fasting, we're saying no food, nothing with calories for a specific period of time. And so as you saw, Teresa was saying, how she was fasting, and also Steve was putting in how he was fasting. So that's what we're talking about. Abstinence from food, any calorie-containing food or calorie-containing substances for a period of time. Okay, and that could be any kind of 16-8, 1 meal a day, 24 hours, 72 hours, 24 hours, and so on and so forth. So in this process, the body shifts into fat burning, so ketosis. And we'll talk about ketones as I get to see my numbers here in a little bit. And during that process, we can maintain the metabolic rate and we maintain muscle mass. So those are benefits, right, of fasting. In terms of calorie restriction, what we're doing is we're eating fewer calories every day. So we are still eating, but we're eating fewer calories. We get slower weight loss. We can increase the risk of muscle loss, and it often leads to a slowdown in our metabolism. All right, so those are some of the key differences. Now we're going to go through, we're going to spend some more time talking in depth about some of this as we get into what else is going on, okay? So the calorie deficit model, and this is the typical model that we've used. So we're cutting calories, and this works on paper, right? That is, you burn more calories than you consume. And so what should happen is if you're using up more calories than you're putting in, you should get loss of weight. The only thing is that this model ignores the hormonal and metabolic changes that happen in your body. So it's not just about the calories that you've eaten. There are other things that happen. So one of the examples I gave today is to someone. So say you eat a cookie and you eat a piece of steak. Well, both of those come into the body, and the calories themselves may be exactly the same. So if you eat a 300 calorie cookie and a 300 calorie steak, which is a small steak, so the calories themselves balance out. But there are things that happen after eating the cookie that isn't accounted for in the calories in versus calorie out model. It doesn't take into consideration the effects of some of the hormones that change in the body as a result of eating the cookie. Okay? So that's one of the things that we'll see. So over time, calorie restriction can slow your metabolism, which we just talked about, and it makes it harder for you to lose weight. So when we're calorie restricting, the body is compensating for the fact that you're simply cutting down on the calories on a daily basis. And so what happens is your metabolism slows down, and so weight loss is difficult. So there's metabolic adaptation that happens. So our bodies, when you cut those calories, and that's what I just said, right? Consistently, your body says, hey, wait a minute. It looks like we are getting less calories overall. And it goes into this energy saving mode. And if you have a slower metabolism, then you burn fewer calories. Notice what happens, right? We're cutting calories because we want to have the body, we want to say if we don't put that much in, then our weight is going to go down. But the body sees that and says, hey, if you're giving me less, I'm going to burn less. And because of that, our metabolism slows down, and it makes it even harder to burn those calories, okay? And then, so the body basically fights back against weight loss. to maintain a balance. This is homeostasis. So homeostasis is the body's ability to maintain sameness. So when we lose weight, the body does everything it can to get us back to that weight. That's that set point, right? The hypothalamic weight set point. And this can be very frustrating and can cause people to give up on their weight loss. So in that example of the calories with the cookie and with the steak, what's going on in that process that causes an issue? And it all has to do with insulin, which is one of the very first pillars that we talk about. If you remember, our pillars: decrease insulin, suppress appetite, and reduce sugar, right? The reason insulin is the first pillar is that it has a huge role in lots of things that we do in terms of metabolism. So the role of insulin in weight loss. Insulin's impact on fat storage, right? First thing we're going to talk about. So high insulin levels make it harder for your body to burn fat. Remember, insulin is a storage hormone. So anytime insulin is there, it's going to store energy, so that if you've eaten something that causes your blood sugar to go up, and now insulin has to come out. Either you're taking insulin from outside or the body makes the insulin. Once the insulin comes in, then it turns on the storage switch. And so now anything that you eat is going to be stored. So every time you eat, you're going to have carbs in the food, unless you are an absolutely, totally no carb meal. So even the meals that are carb restrictive, right? So those very, very, very low carb foods, very, very low carb diets, they are still putting carbs in. And anytime the carb goes in, insulin has to come out to counteract it. Right? So every time you eat, especially high carb foods, insulin is released. Right? And so fasting, on the other hand, lowers the insulin level more effectively because we're not putting anything in at all. So we're not getting those spikes on a daily basis. We're not getting those spikes on an hourly basis. Right? So what we're doing in essence is, if you're going along and you're eating, even though you've cut back on the calories, you're still getting spikes in blood sugar. And because you're getting spikes in blood sugar, then we've got to get spikes in insulin. And anytime the insulin comes out, the insulin is going to say, hey, I need to store. So the food that you're eating, even though you have cut back on the calories, the food itself is being stored because the insulin level is there. Okay? So that's one of the things that happens with insulin as it relates to weight loss. So fasting lowers insulin levels more effectively and efficiently than just cutting the calories. And this allows your body to not access the fat stores. So that because insulin has gone down during the period when you are fasting, the body has to now switch over to burning fat, and it's not storing. Right? One of the benefits. So weight loss as it relates to how insulin is affecting the body. So fasting, right? More than just cutting calories. Fasting is more than just cutting calories. Fasting isn't just about eating less. It changes the body's chemistry, right? We just talked about hormones, for example. So during fasting, your insulin levels drop significantly. This allows fat to be used for fuel as opposed to being stored. And then the body switches from burning glucose to actually burning fat. This enhances weight loss. When we are eating, even though we've cut back on the calories, the eating is still putting carbs into the liver. It's causing spikes in insulin, and then insulin is storing, and so we have problems with fat loss, or weight loss, as we call it. So hormonal balances in weight loss. So leptin and ghrelin, which is the satiety hormone and the hunger hormone, they help to regulate hunger and regulate fullness. So calorie restrictions without fasting can disrupt these hormones. Because remember, when insulin comes up, insulin is going to affect ghrelin and leptin. Right? So the hormones that are affecting our appetite and our hunger are being affected. So we feel more hungry, right? And we don't feel as satiated. So this leads to increased hunger and increased cravings. So when you are eating, even though you've cut back on the calories, the cravings are still there. The cravings are being driven by the fact that insulin is up. Insulin is affecting the satiety and the hunger hormone. And so we feel hunger and we get those cravings. And so it's sometimes difficult to maintain the calorie restriction. So fasting helps to stabilize these hormones. It reduces the cravings and makes it easier to stick to your healthy eating. The other thing is muscle preservation. Fasting helps to prevent muscle loss. So during fasting, human growth hormone, HGH, levels increase. And human growth hormone is one of the hormones that's responsible for maintaining muscle mass. Calorie restrictions without fasting often leads to muscle loss and slowing the metabolism even further, right? Because remember, metabolically active muscles will burn more calories. Yeah, so if those muscles are metabolically active and growth hormone is coming out and we're getting more muscle mass, then you're actually burning even more calories. On the other hand, when we are decreasing our calories, then the growth hormone does not come up as much, right? So we get improved growth hormone during the process of fasting, and it helps to protect our lean muscle mass. And this improves our metabolic health because there are so many other things that growth hormone can do. So the real difference between the two is that sustained fasting, right? Fasting promotes a longer period of fat burning. Because when we're eating, cutting back on calories, we're eating and we're still getting those fluctuations, those spikes throughout the day. But when we're fasting, right, what we're doing is we're giving longer periods of time where we're not getting spikes and the insulin level is actually going down. And it also gives metabolic flexibility. So fasting trains your body to switch between burning carbs and fat more effectively and efficiently. Right? So fasting says to the body, hey, let's do this. Let's switch. And it switches more effectively, switches quicker than we would normally see. All right. And so how about exercise? Why exercise alone may not be enough. So exercise is important, and I promote exercise. I want you to exercise. Get out there, do as much exercise as you can. Right? It's important for health, but it may not significantly impact weight loss without addressing insulin resistance. Wow. That is worth spending a minute, spending some time. So if you are exercising, you are burning some calories. Yes. If you walk for about an hour, you will burn. If you do a 20-minute mile, right, you'll burn about 100 calories. If you do a 15-minute mile, you may burn a little bit more. Right? So if you do a 20-minute mile, you burn about 100 calories. So that means that if you do an hour, right, 20 minutes each time, then you're burning 300 calories. So if you've burned 300 calories by doing that 20-minute mile for an hour, you've burned those calories, you've used them up. But if you have insulin resistance, if you have elevated insulin in your body, the calories that you've lost won't compensate for the fact that the insulin in your body is driving your body to maintain and retain weight. So let me say that again because I want you to follow me. You go to the gym and you burn 300 calories, which is great. I love it. The question, though, is how many calories does your body retain and save? Because you're insulin resistant, because you are taking insulin from outside to compensate for food, or your body has to make insulin, or because you're insulin resistant, your insulin level is already elevated. So you go to the gym and you're exercising off the calories that you ate, but on the other hand, the amount of insulin that's in your body is superseding the fact that you exercised. I want you to follow that, right? So if we don't address insulin resistance and those hormonal changes that we see, the hormonal balance, then it is difficult to lose weight, even though you're doing the things that we tell you to do, going to the gym, cutting back on calories. So fasting plus exercise enhances fat burning efficiency, and it boosts your metabolic rate, and it makes weight loss makes it easier and more sustainable. Okay? Now, let me back up and let me make a couple of points. Number one, going to the gym and exercising and cutting back on calories can help with weight loss. Okay? Let me put that out there. So I want you to understand. It can help with weight loss. Some of the challenges with it, though, is the weight loss is slower. The weight loss is often not sustainable. And there are other components that are fighting against what we're doing when we're cutting calories and exercising. Because once again, we're still getting those fluctuations in sugar. When we get the fluctuations, insulin comes out. And as soon as insulin comes out, it causes a cascade of problems. And that's the challenge with just cutting back. So the power of fasting long term is that we get sustainable weight loss. So fasting helps reset insulin levels, right? Because one of the reasons that we are talking about the pillars, right, decreasing insulin, is because we get better insulin sensitivity. It improves our metabolic health, and it reduces our cravings. This is one of the powers of fasting. But if you cut back on calories, you eat something that has carbs, insulin comes up and you get a craving. You feel hungrier. So long term, it promotes long-term changes in how your body processes energy. Remember that adaptability that we just talked about, the flexibility? So your body's able to burn calories and through carbs, and it's able to switch to burning fat more effectively because you're training it to do so. So instead of constantly reducing calories, fasting lets your body work naturally to burn fat. So one of the things with calories is that you have to keep going down on the calories in order to get more and more weight loss. But whenever you fast, the fast burns those fat cells, burns those calories. Okay? So what is the conclusion? Right? Cutting calories and exercising aren't the only solutions to weight loss challenges. Fasting helps overcome metabolic barriers and insulin resistance, and this can hinder fat loss. But here we are getting the benefit. And integrating fasting into your health plan can make weight loss more effective and more sustainable. Effective and sustainable. Okay, so what is one of and let me do this. So what is one of the key differences between fasting and restricting. And one of the key differences is fat burning. So fasting burns fat as fuel. The body quickly shifts to burning fat. There's the ketosis that we talk about. It enhances fat loss once the glycogen is depleted. Remember, the glycogen goes away in about that first 18 to 24, maybe 36 hours. And once that goes away, we switch to ketones. Calorie restriction gives slower fat loss, and that's the point I was just making. Not that it can't work, but it's slower, and we get mixed fat and muscle loss. When we're doing fasting, what we're getting is that muscle protection from the growth hormone that comes out. Okay. Another key difference is muscle preservation, which is what we were just talking about. So fasting, muscles preserved. Preserve muscle by prioritizing fat for energy, right? And it stimulates growth hormone, which helps muscle retention. When we're restricting calories, we get muscle loss, right? So that's at risk. It can lead to muscle breakdown if you're not combining it with exercise and proper protein intake. And then a third difference between the two is that is when it comes to the metabolic rate, right? So fasting, the metabolic rate is maintained. Now, in fact, at the beginning of fasting, right, you actually get increased metabolism. The metabolic rate goes up because fasting is actually a stress on the body. And so the metabolic rate actually goes up in that initial phase as the body is converting or switching over. You can increase the metabolic rate temporarily, and then we get fat mobilization due to norepinephrine release. So that's the stress hormones that are coming out. And then in calorie restriction, the metabolism slows down. The body adapts to lower calorie intake by burning fewer calories. And that's what we do not want to happen. Right? One of the other things is water weight versus fat loss. So when we're fasting, we lose water and fat loss. So initial rapid loss from glycogen and water stores. So when you first start fasting, the body has to get rid of all the glycogen that's in your liver before it switches over to fat. So we get sustained fat loss once the ketosis kicks in. With calorie restriction, we get slower loss, predominantly fat and muscle, and we get less immediate water loss. Right? Awesome. So lots of stuff going on in the body. And so I love having these conversations. We had this conversation today, and I thought this was a great point for us to spend going through some of the differences between those two. All right, and let's see. Let's hop over and let's pull up some of our comments before we get to taking a look at blood sugars. So let's see. Let's grab this one. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Let's see what we got. We got. So, Anjanelle says hello. Hey, Anjanelle, welcome. Let's get you a hand clap and some music. So glad that you are here. Glad that you are here to join us. And let's see. I'm going to go back to this other scene. There we go. Okay, so she says hello. Jennifer saying hello. Howdy, Anjanelle. Glad that you're here. Hi, Anjanelle. Welcome from Pamela. Hello, ladies, from Steve. Hey, Steve. And then, of course, Lightworks. Hi, all. Guess I will. We'll have to watch later from the beginning. Always good stuff to learn. Well, thank you for saying that. You get some music for that. And Jennifer saying howdy, Lightworks. I got here late too. It's good. It's a good one too. Lightworks says, I feel like I got fooled by looking at calories on the back of boxes. Example, 100 calories stuff. Yes, but sometimes the 100 calories puts a hurting on me because I forget to see how much carbs. That is so true. That is so true. Teresa saying, hey, doctor and everyone. So Lightworks, I like that comment. And that's a point that I was making today to someone in the office, that calories are not just calories, right? There are other components that come with calories, particularly, as you said, if you're not looking at the carbs that come with those calories, then that can actually cause lots of distress, because what we're doing is we're dysregulating our hunger, dysregulating our insulin, dysregulating the ability of our body to maintain fat burning, because the insulin makes it impossible. Well, it shouldn't make impossible. Makes it difficult for the body to then go and burn calories. Okay. All right. And then back over here. So Teresa, hey doctor and everyone. Hey Teresa, what's up? What's up? Jennifer say, I agree. I lose weight only when I limit carbs. Yes. Just got here as well. So hey Teresa, glad that you've come through and hung out with us. All right, so let's hop over and let's take a look at some of my blood sugars. And what I want to do is let's take a look at my Dexcom Clarity first. All right. And here is my Dexcom Clarity. Let me get that on screen for you. There we are. And you see there my average blood sugar 124. This is for the last 2 weeks. Right there. I'm in target 93% of the time. Target being 70 to 180. And if I were to get an A1C based on this, it would be 6.3. Remember, the glucose management indicator is a surrogate. It's a calculated estimate of what the A1C would be. So it can be different. In fact, I had someone just, I think last week it came in, that asked that question. Why is my A1C different from what the glucose management indicator is? And because it's a calculation, there is variation that goes with it. Okay, it should approximate it, but it's not necessarily exact. If I go ahead and change to 90 days, we'll see what my average is. Probably about 135 is what my average blood sugar is, and you'll see that there, with being in target range 88% of the time, target being 70 to 180, and an A1C estimate or glucose management indicator of 6.5. Okay, and as I mentioned before, I did get my blood work, and I have that in hand. It's actually queued up here. When you join us on Thursday, so on the 31st, for our for our meetup, you'll get to see and we'll get to discuss some of that. Okay, if I look at my daily numbers. And so once again, I'm fasting now, wow, 73 plus hours, almost 74 hours. So started fasting here on Sunday. Fasting here on Sunday. And we started at 147. And 24 hours later, 94. 24 hours after that, so 48 hours, we're 60s and 70s. And then 24 hours after that, right, we're here at 72 hours, and blood sugars are in the 60s and 70s. So I want you to look at this. All right, so here is my 60 plus hours. You notice that for most of the day, the blood sugars kind of ran along that 70 line, popped up, higher 70s, mid to lower 80s, maybe got up to the 90s, and then came back down. So here's the question that I get all the time. In fact, let me hop over and let's take a look at this, right? So if you remember when we started, my blood sugar was like 69, 68, and so now it's 70. And if I go over to my Keto Mojo or my Libre, it's 60. So why is my blood sugar not 0? Why is it not 0? It's not 0 because as my body is burning fat, it's creating, it has those triglycerides that are there. You guys have seen and heard that term. So when it breaks those triglycerides apart, it gets it gets 3 fatty acids. And those fatty acids go to ketones. But there's also the glycerol part, right? Triglyceride. And the glycerol part actually gets turned into sugar. So even as the body is breaking down fat, right, we still can get sugar out of that. And so that's why my blood sugar is not 0. And it's very hard to get a blood sugar of 0 unless you've not eaten for like long months and months, right? Because what's going to happen, the body's also going to break down. If you haven't eaten for that long, once it gets finished with fat, once there's no more fat, what do you think it turns to? Well, it turns to protein. And then now it uses protein to make different components that it can use. So it's very difficult to get a blood sugar of 0. And that's why my blood sugars are kind of hanging where they are, right? And then let's hop over and we're going to take a look at my Keto Mojo because I want to see what my ketones are at the time. I think we were at 70, right at 72 plus hours. So let's go ahead and pop that up. So let's get this one out. And we're going to go ahead and turn on my meter. And let's go ahead and get that synced. What do you think? I think Steve said, what did Steve say? I think he said 1.2 or thereabouts. Okay, drum roll, please. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Anybody want to hop in and give their what they think it is, their estimate? Okay, what do you think it's gonna be? All right, so let's pull it up and let's see. Drum roll, please. And all right, so my glucose was 6.0 and ketones are 2. Let's see, where is it? Right there. Right, 2.3. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? 2.3. Now, when it comes to ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis. And then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. So when we talk about ketosis, when we talk about fat loss, when we talk about the benefits that we get from fasting, we're shooting to have our ketones at least 0.5 or higher. Because that's what we want to get the benefits. Now, if you are in a ketogenic diet, and people say to me, I'm just eating a ketogenic diet. And I said, what's the purpose? They said, well, in order for me to get the benefits of ketosis. Well, you don't know if you're you don't get those benefits unless you're 0.5 or higher. 0.5 or higher, not 1.5. Okay. Now, you get a lot of benefits from the process of being on a particular diet, ketogenic, for example, and you can get weight loss from that diet. But once again, you are still having fluctuations in your blood sugar, and so you can still have spikes in insulin, and the spikes in insulin makes it difficult to lose weight. Not that you can't, because ketogenic diet is an amazing one for weight loss. Okay, but I'm just contrasting that with fasting itself. So ketones. Let's go back there and let's take a look at ketones. So 2.3. So I'm in the therapeutic ketosis, and if I look at the graph, you'll see there as I started eating, you'll see, or not started eating, but as I started fasting, then the blood sugars began dropping, and that's the tan line that you see. And then the ketones, which is the turquoise line, that started going up. So ketones go up as blood sugar goes down. One of the reasons for that is that ketones and insulin can't be in the same space. Kind of like matter and antimatter, right? Kind of like those old movies where they say, hey, if you go back in time, don't interact with yourself because you can't, right? Because you mess stuff up. Well, same thing here. When insulin comes out, ketones can't be there, so ketones begin going away. So as I try to do when I break my fast, and we'll talk more about that when we do our fasting review, I try to maintain ketosis as long as possible post-fast, so that I try not to eat a lot of high-carb foods, because once I do that, blood sugar goes up. When blood sugar goes up, insulin goes up, appetite gets stimulated, my glycogen gets replenished, and I lose ketones. Okay? So we'll talk more about that as we get into breaking the fast. All right. If you've not done so, we have been on our trek in our New Year, New You process. And one of the most fascinating things that we're talking about is our COPE model. How do we combat the things that go on that push us to eat? Because, and I guess maybe a point to be made here as we move into New Year, New You, as we move through the process of reversing diabetes. A powerful tool that we have is insulin or fasting. A powerful tool that we have is our ability to recognize the heat model, the things that push us in the direction of eating. And I guess let me pull that up, right? The things that push us in that direction. A powerful tool that we have is our ability to create a meal that will keep us in the space of metabolic health, if you remember that. And a powerful tool that we have is the COPE model that helps us to work through how do we combat the things that are pushing us in the direction of getting off of our eating plan. And that is what we've been walking through over the past several weeks. If you've not done so, go back and watch those. We did the third component, the pause component, this past week. We're coming up and we're doing the execute coming up this coming week on Dwain Woode MD Live. But you want to go back and kind of take a look at those to get yourself up to speed and ready as we move through the process. Awesome. All right. I'm always excited, right? I'm always excited to be here in this space with you. Let's go back and let's see what we've got in terms of some chats. So Lightworks was guessing 1.4 for my ketones, and as you guys saw, it was 2.3 there. Okay. Remember, there is unlimited potential in each of you. Unlimited potential for improving your metabolic health. Unlimited potential for casting the destiny or charting the destiny that you want going forward. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. It doesn't matter the decisions that you've made that have maybe caused some issues in terms of your metabolic health. But from today, you can make decisions, you can make choices that set you up for success. Unlimited, right? Infinity. In fact, I was just today in the process of thinking through what we're doing as we get into the new year, right? And one of the symbols for unlimited that you will see coming through is the symbol for infinity. Because that's what you have at your fingertips. And the way to unleash that, the way to access that is through the Triple E formula for success. That is, we educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the podcast. We educate with the blogs. We educate with all of the handouts that we do. We educate with all of those things that are changing our mindset, giving us a different frame shift, giving us a different way of looking at things. And then we empower with the tools that we're learning, the COPE model, the HEAT model, the discussion that we just had about the differences between fasting and reducing calories, right? All of those are tools. Every month we have a challenge that we do, and you can put those tools into practice. And then we encourage with this amazing community that you are a part of, that you are helping to build, because we get to come around, we get to support each other as we move through that process. Remember the HEAT model, the things that push us in a direction that get off of our eating plan, get off of our diet, get off of our meal that we eat, the types of things that we eat. That's habits, emotions, access, and taste. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. They push us in that direction. The habits that we formed, the routines, the things that we do just because that's just what we do. We go to the movies, we eat popcorn, we get together with friends, we drink coffee, we eat muffins, even though we're not hungry. The emotions that push through our decisions when we're too angry, we're too happy. I was going to say happy as well. We're too angry, we're too lonely, we're too bored, we're too tired. All of those things will push through decisions that we've made. And then access, just having things around us when we have to clean up our environment. And then taste, the bliss point, the perfect combination of fat, sugar, and salt. When you eat it, you can't just have one. You're going to have more and more and more and more. And remember, the taste that we have, sometimes we think we're chasing the taste. What we're chasing is what the food did for us, what it does for us, the calm that it brings, that emotional state that it puts us in, that feeling that we get, the things are better for that moment, the memory that it brings back of that time when we ate that thing at that place where we felt that way. So habits, emotions, access, and taste. And our call to action is this: join the challenges. Come on, let's do it together. Every month we have a challenge, and you can get in there, you can jump in, and you can partake, you can get a part of that. You're putting to practice the things that we're learning. When you show up, tell your story. Let us know. Are you fasting? Have you had benefits with your A1C, your weight, with blood sugars getting better, cholesterol, high blood pressure, getting off of medications because your doctor said, man, look at how good you are doing. Share those with us, because when we see you can do it, then we know we can do it as well. If we see you are having challenges, share those with us as well, because we get to rally around you and we all know that we're not by ourselves. And then invite a friend. Let somebody know that they can come to a space where they can improve their metabolism and reverse their diabetes. They can improve their weight, their blood pressure, their cholesterol, their fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and on and on and on and on. And don't just point them, come with them. Right? Look through the playlist. We've got playlists on there, mastering diabetes, how to reverse diabetes, how to fast successfully, fasting for the beginner. All of those are playlists that are on our YouTube channel. Make sure you get out there and make sure you watch them. And then remember our pillars. The pillars are: we decrease insulin, we suppress the appetite, and we reduce sugar. If we do that, then we are well on our way to reversing our diabetes. Hey. As we go through the week, remember we're going to be doing our fasting check-ins coming up over the next several days. And then on Friday with our fasting review, we will be back on Saturday night at 9 o'clock for videos from the vault. I trust that you guys are enjoying those, looking back at some of the landmark videos that we've done. And then Sunday morning, This Week in Review. And of course, always here live at 7 p.m. Central here on Dwain Woode, MD Live. Glad that you were here. Glad that I could get some time to spend with you. And as I always say, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. Good night, everybody. We'll see you at our next show. All right, we'll see you at our next show.